something that isn't addressed in this, it's more than likely addressed in PARCC. And in fact, I would think of PARCC as the end goal of all of these changes in education. PARCC is the end-all and be-all of what they're trying to do. And PARCC is currently promising a lot. I'm very hopeful that it delivers, because if it does deliver, that means really big, amazing changes that improve everyone in the profession. And not just teachers, but students, and really how we look at education. So there's a governing board of 18 state superintendents. Our very own Louisiana state superintendent is on this. And let me also a disclaimer. There's a rival to PARCC. There's another consortium within the Common Core, another group of states that are trying to make their own PARCC exams. But Louisiana will be dealing with the PARCC exams. So basically, these are the goals of PARCC. First and foremost, determine whether college students are college or career ready. The goal, because I know, what is college and career ready, right? And that's ready, isn't it? And you know that in education, we sure love our buzzwords. In fact, we'll take effective teaching practices and turn them into buzzwords. Anyone remember differentiation? Yeah? Yeah. Let's still present on that one, though. So here's the thing. College and career ready means that you are a valuable member of society. You are a person that is giving back to society, and that you are not someone who is taking from society, essentially. See where we're going with that? We want people to be able to find a job when they graduate high school. And increasingly, oh my gosh, I would even argue that for today's college graduates, the job market isn't even friendly to have a college degree, right? Right? So just think about 10 years from now having a high school degree. What will that be worth? And then not even having a high school degree, what's that? So they're trying to kind of remove it from degree status and put some sort of skills. You will see, whether it's through the current initiative of course choice providers, you will see a much bigger focus on career skills for those students that are going that route. And that they are trying to value both routes. Likewise, number 2, and I put this bold and underlined, you're going to assess the Common Core. The PARCC assessments are directly related to the Common Core, assessing them at all grade levels. And then 3, and this is very interesting, especially for gifted students, they have promised that they will measure the full range of student performance. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Initially, what PARCC was conceived as was a computer adaptive test like the old graduate record exams, so that it's not how many questions you get right or wrong, but your difficulty level. Meaning, let's say I take a test, I have a question, I get it right. The next question is going to be more difficult. Okay, I get that one right. Next question is more difficult. I get that wrong. Oh, I go down in difficulty level. And so that was the original intent. I think the other consortium is still aiming for that. It's just a little more difficult. PARCC still promises, however, to measure a full range of student performance. Every standardized test, especially if students are improving on it, has a ceiling effect. And so they're trying to reduce that. Likewise, and number 4 is so interesting. Provide data during the school year. Just like the format of DIBELS, PARCC will be taking a similar format. So that you can know during the year how all your students are performing and whether or not they're on track to pass. Actually, I think that's one of the most promising things. 5, provide data for accountability. Oh, right. All the states that are doing Common Core are also moving to teacher evaluation and accountability systems like Value Added, one of the most popular ones. So this is going to be integrated in Value Added. And if you wonder why the state has to do a statewide pilot test, it's to make sure that they have the means of roster verification, curriculum reporting, and data processing statewide before they're using these exams and the Common Core. That also explains why we're in a statewide trial run, because eventually your scores will be cemented on this. And then also, and this is 6 is kind of a buzzword in my opinion, incorporate innovative approaches. Well, the innovative approaches that they're referencing are all technology-based. Because anyone do end-of-course testing in high school? Oh, okay. Yeah, so one of the things with that is that takes a high level by default, summative assessments. They're periodic throughout the year. I imagine they will have to stagger these dates because there's only so many computers in the school, right? Just like when in the course testing. And then, I think the important thing to note is that's giving during the year of data. One of the best practices in education today, aside from things like Dibble's format, is to use benchmark tests. Look at one of the best performing parishes in the state, Ascension Parish. They actually have district-developed benchmark tests, and they give those benchmark tests. And then teachers react to that data and improve their instruction and address certain issues in their classroom. They want all teachers to be able to do that. And all teachers to do that, because it's a wonderful practice. Gone are the days where you know whether a child is going to pass or fail at the end of 4th grade, and that is it. Because that's unfair to you, and that's unfair to the student, and it's unfair to the parents. Now, you'll know in August who's going to be on track to pass that end of the year exam, and that gives you a lot of time to really focus on the children that need it and make sure that they have their needs met. Okay. Any questions about this? Or at least the goals of it? Yes?
We give a benchmark test. However, our students have caught on through the years that it doesn't count for anything because it's not part of their grade or anything like that, so they don't take it seriously.
There's no reason why it couldn't or shouldn't be part of the curriculum. That would be a district or school policy that they're not using for a grade. In other districts, it is used for a grade, and you can incorporate that within your grading system. But then, that also requires a lot more tighter controls on the number of assessments and the point distribution that you give as a teacher. If your end of course testing amounts to 10% of your grade, and then another teacher in the school it's only 2% of their grade, then of course students are going to be aware of that disparity. I think one of the things I've learned quickest from teaching was that students learn a lot more than we give them credit for. It's just usually not the things we want them to learn about. By the way, there's also 3 additional assessments that they're planning, including one for early grades that focuses on speaking and listening. And so at most, you will have between 2 and 5 PARCC assessments during the year for your students. And of course, these are a little more optional, so it'll be interesting to see whether the state does that. Last time I've spoken to the directors at the Department of Education, they seem more likely to be inclined to using all of these tests. Now, does that mean that might interfere in some of the tests you give, that you'll have to use this in lieu of giving an exam? Yeah, and that'll have to be incorporated in your personal curriculum in the classroom. Question?
Is that kind of like the New York assessment? They have parts, like there are 4 parts. Is that the same thing? If they have a speaking and listening, they have 3 parts before that. Is that similar?
So, exactly. And so
we
that's
can
what I
kind of look
mentioned.
at that
So
before?
what I mentioned about this is that a lot of the misinformation makes people think that, okay, all of this is something that Bobby Jindal dreamed up and he wants to get to, or something like that. And in reality, this is not a statement. This is not something that the Department of Education decided to make up and then push out on teachers and require them to do. This is something that, politically speaking, is derived from Race to the Top funds. That Race to the Top became a carrot on the stick to offer, what was it, $60 billion to states? I mean, clearly, especially in our current economics and looking at state and district budgets, states have to compete for that money, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. You have to compete for that money to stay competitive. Likewise, by participating in the Race to the Top grant proposal, every state had to show certain things. And 3 of those things were that they were having a teacher accountability system, and that they were going to a college and career readiness curriculum, i.e., boy, isn't that convenient that one popped up at that time? Wink. Common Core state standards. And likewise, of course, you have to be able to assess those, and so you have one method of doing so, the PARCC assessments, which are based on other practices and the national consortium of states that got together and said, this is what I'm doing in my state, this is what we're doing in this state, let's bring that together and take the best of it. Okay? One of the things with that, you have to also realize that if trends in federal grantmanship continue, any state that is applying for grants will have to show those 3 things to get federal money. And since states are increasingly reliant on federal funds because they don't have any for educational purposes, that is where this whole national trend comes from. And so just at the end of the day, when you're looking at things like Common Core and PARCC, don't view that as a state initiative. It's not. It is a national initiative. And sometimes teaching and education can get politicized. And it's really sad when it does, but the way, the testing method, and this is where we get a little tricky, they are computer administered. Now, just this week, an assessment was put out, the initial rough assessment, literally 3 years earlier than it needs to be, on Louisiana's current technological framework instruction. The news is they did this really early, right? So there's a lot of time to prepare. You can actually go on the Department of Education website and find new Iberians. They literally have every single one of the schools, how many computers are in that school available to students, and how many of those meet the minimum system requirements to do these exams. And then how many can be upgraded, and then how many just need to flat out be replaced. Only 4 districts in the state of Louisiana at this present time do not need to make changes to their technology and their computers. There will be a lot of changes. There will be a lot of requirements and cost requirements to be able to run these exams. Now, of course, the first question is, if we have to pay something, who's going to pay it? And that is something currently being worked out. There is a large distribution of money from the PARCC consortium, but what happens when that money dries up? And hopefully it doesn't dry up before we finish buying all these new computers. And by the way, the reason why they want this on a computer is they want to focus on something beyond multiple choice. Constructive response, they've also promised that they'll be able to develop skills. You think about all those fun little games we play on our iPhones or iPads. Well, the fact of the matter is, what if some of those games displayed skills? What if, for example, in physical science or physics, or let's say you're taking a class on construction or woodworking, being able to set the vectors for something you're building, being able to show drafting skills, you can do that on a computer. It's hard to do that on a written test sometimes, and it's even harder to grade that. When you can set up systems on the computer, mock lab experiments where the students have to do certain things in order, and actually give feedback to them if they mess up. Well, okay, great, I did this, mixed this to this first, and it caused an explosion. Maybe I need to try something different. And so it allows for a different range of question types. Now, of course, any kind of possibility we have, any sort of advantage, always has an inherent limitation or disadvantage. And the fact of the matter is, I've already mentioned, there are computer requirements for this. And we're going to see the first PARCC assessments in around August. So I'm hoping by then I can go and take one myself and just see what sort of things that are going to be on that PARCC assessment. By the way, this is very interesting. PARCC has a step-by-step program on how it's going to go into your state to be implemented. First thing, they're aligning all the instructional materials in the classroom to Common Core state standards. You see, the same people working on the Common Core state standards are some of the same people working on these assessments. Then, they're obviously going to train educators on how to teach Common Core and also teach the PARCC. Number 3, all of that technology has to be updated. Structurally speaking, you need technology in place that will allow, for one, all the kids to take these tests and the system requirements for the question types. And 2, that has to also be congruent to data reporting. Luckily, Louisiana already has end-of-course testing, so we have that system in place, so we're a little ahead of other states, even if we do have some work on a district-to-district basis. Number 4, that pretty much tells you value add, right? The fact is that all of this is going to be incorporated into teaching accountability. And likewise, they're then going to come back to the universities and talk about certification. These are the skills and the subjects and curriculum that your new teacher is going to have to teach. And they're going to bring that to university level so tomorrow's teachers are prepared for Common Core and PARCC. And then finally, the students that are graduating from high school are now going to know different things, right? So that's going to change university curriculum. So this is just kind of a general overview on the large sense, because I think all too often in our classrooms we lose track on just how much of an impact we have on this nation. As teachers, you're part of a national movement that is going to affect not only your classroom, but university classrooms and higher education as well. And then obviously, career preparation. So, I always mention this, it's a real pleasure to talk to you on something that doesn't technically exist yet. And, but still, I think it's important, especially versions and online materials to know about this. How many of you heard about PARCC before today? Good, good, that's excellent. Sometimes I ask that and I don't get any hands. And I think it's more important that we are aware of where we're going directionally in the field. But also, I would say, look up this information on your own time. And here is the resource list I would recommend copying down. You go to corestandards.org, you get all the Common Core documents. You go to PARCC, parcconline.org, you'll get all the PARCC information, though they don't have the test ready yet. And then our presentations or ones like this are available at our YouTube site at A+PEL Educators. You can also go to www.appleeducators.org